Hey all, good to see you in another video. This is K.S. Ashok Kumar from KIT Kalaignar Karunanidhi Institute of Technology from the Department of Management Studies accredited by NAC and NBA. So again in this new video we are going to see international business management, specifically international trade and investment. So how international trade, investment and the main role of WTO and GATT. So the specific topic is related to how WTO and GATT helps you in trading your goods or services in an international market. So the primary role of WTO and GATT to facilitate trade between different countries. So that is what we are going to see. So before going into trade, what is import, what is export, what is WTO, what is GATT, want to give you a clarification regarding the current scenario of the importance of India in the world market. Even though World Trade Organization, India is one of the members in World Trade Organization, the importance of India during this COVID season was remarkable and it was well applauded by many countries in this world. So now India has become a center stage in the world, in the growing world, not only in economic aspects, but also in many aspects. More number of countries are looking into India, and the need of resources from India are abundant to all developing countries, also developed countries. Being a developing country, India's role into the foreign market is enormous. So by giving these introductions, now we will go into what is international trade, how it is being done, and how WTO, the World Trade Organization, helps in facilitating trade between different countries, either one country or multiple countries. So let's jump into the topic. So international trade. So trade is just voluntarily exchange of goods or service or assets or money between one person or organization and another. So simply telling, exchange of goods, service, assets, physical assets or money between either one person or multiple persons or organization or between anything. So it may be between one organization, another organization. It will be between one organization to multiple organization. It may be between one individual to another individual. It may be between one person to multiple person. So all these trade beyond the boundaries or all these exchange of goods beyond the boundaries, we call it as international trade. International trade is trade between residents of two countries. So if any two residents of two different countries, either from India or Pakistan, or either from India or China, or India or United States, any trade happening between these two individuals or any two organizations, that depicts as international trade. Now comes the World Trade Organization or WTO. So if we take international business management, if we take international trade, the word WTO is irreplaceable, because these World Trade Organization plays or facilitates and provides policies, provides solutions between two different countries, which means if any issues between two different countries, any trade negotiation between two different countries happens with the help of World Trade Organization. So what is WTO? So WTO was established in 1995, 1st January 1995. The WTO is the larger membership. That present number of members stands 151. So there are a lot of organizations, associations throughout the world. Among all the associations and organizations throughout the world, WTO has certain uniqueness, which is it has the largest membership, which means more number of members are there in WTO. As of now, there are 151 countries members in WTO, and India is one among the founding members of WTO. So we should be very proud that in 1995, along with United States, along with China and all the developed countries, India was also one of the founding members of WTO. And during 1995, the role of India in WTO was very small, but after COVID, that is after 2021 and 2022, the role of India in World Trade Organization has grown immensely, that every organization depends upon India in one way or another way to facilitate trade between any country. So World Trade Organization is an international organization designed by its founders to supervise and liberalize international trade. So the primary motive of World Trade Organization is to supervise and liberalize trade. And another important thing of World Trade Organization is to find out least developed countries and to facilitate between the developed countries and least developed countries, so the resources are shared evenly. It is not like developed countries have to develop and develop again and again. The least developed countries have to be in the least developed nation itself. So it is not like that. The primary motive is to facilitate trade between developed and underdeveloped countries. So this is the main reason. So they supervise and liberalize the international trade. Then it deals with the regulation of trade between participating countries. So it is kind of a regulator. World Trade Organization is a regulator where it regularizes trade between two different countries or more than two countries. It provides a framework for negotiating and formalizing trade agreements and a dispute resolution process. So two important things World Trade Organization does. One is formalizing trade agreements. So they formalize, they sit together, sit with two parties, they formalize the trade agreement, and mutual agreement consensus is obtained with the help of World Trade Organization. That is the first scenario. The second scenario of importance of World Trade Organization is dispute resolution process. So naturally, if within a country, if you are doing any trade, which means if you are doing any change of goods from one state to other state, or at least one district to other district, the what do you call it, dispute arises. There are a lot of disputes in a small market within India. But if we are moving away from India, there are different market sizes. China is a very big market. US is a very bigger market. Australia and New Zealand is comparatively a smaller market. So you need to do trade with all different sizes of countries. So the dispute will be more. In order to reduce the disputes or in order to settle the disputes, World Trade Organization plays a very important role. So two important things done by World Trade Organization is provides framework and negotiating and formalizing trade agreements. Features of World Trade Organization. So as said, by now everybody should have known that the role of WTO in trade between two different countries or more than countries is very important. In that cases, what will be the features of WTO? What features that WTO do? It is an international organization to promote multilateral trade. So multilateral trade in the sense it is not unified, not only for two single countries to judge. So as I said, there are almost 151 countries. So WTO being a neutral member, have to facilitate trade between all those 151 countries. It should not neglect any single country, because everyone is a member, irrespective of the size of the country, irrespective of the size of the market, everybody are your member. So it's an international organization to promote multilateral trade between all these 151 countries. Second one, it is the replacement for General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs. So this was initiated as GATT and it has been converted into WTO. So we will come to GATT in later stages. First, we will get a clarification on what WTO is exactly. Then we will move on to GATT. So it is a enlarged version of GATT. Third one, it promotes free trade by removing tariffs and non-tariff barriers. So generally, the monopolistic nature of certain countries makes difficult of trade between underdeveloped country and a developed country. That is a very big barrier, because they have certain barriers like keeping tariffs, keeping certain rules and regulations limiting underdeveloped countries to come into a developed market. So in order to remove all those things, WTO facilitates these underdeveloped countries, or LDCs, we call it as least developed countries, to come into a developed country and utilize the market, and they can also grow. So that is the main promotion work done by WTO. Next one, it has a fixed set of rules and regulation, and it has a legal status. So generally it is kind of a court. No majority organization does have a legal status, but a unique feature of WTO has a legal status, which means they can take cases, they can give solutions, even they can punish those who have done wrong things. So the legal status of this WTO is commendable. Because of this legal status, many number of cases are solved immediately. If there are no legal status given to WTO, it might be just another dummy organization with just namesake. But since uniqueness of WTO is it is having a legal status, since it is having rules and regulations with fixed rules and regulations common for all 151 countries. Next one, it includes trade in goods, trade in services, protection of IP, that is intellectual property rights, and agent of United Nations. So United Nations, a wider group, WTO is one among the agents of United Nations. So when GATT was there, it was only purely on trading goods. But when it was developed as a WTO, World Trade Organization, it included goods, it included services, it included intellectual property rights. So everything came into one single umbrella under World Trade Organization. So any disputes arising because of goods, any disputes arising because of services or intellectual property rights, everything has been negotiated and concluded with the help of World Trade Organization. Unlike IMF, International Monetary Fund, and World Bank, WTO is not an agent of United Nations. So what does it mean? So unlike International Monetary Fund and World Bank, they are direct agents of United Nations. WTO serves as a non-monetary or non-official agent. So some unofficial negotiations may happen, but not as a right agent of United Nations. Only few things, under the ground things may happen, but unlike direct International Monetary Fund and direct World Bank agents, World Trade Organization don't directly act as an agent of United Nations. So the next one, World Trade Organization has a large secretariat and huge organization setup. So among few organizations or few associations, WTO has a proper structure, organization structure, which means they have a secretariat, they have a chairman, they have a group of people working under chairmanship. So it is kind of a regulated organization which takes care of each and every problems individually, and for each and every problem. For goods, there is a separate department. For services, there is a separate department. For intellectual property rights, there is a separate department. So there are different departments, and within different departments, there are small countries representation, so that each and every country is being taken into consideration without leaving any country. So these are all certain features of WTO. Now coming to objectives. First and foremost objective of World Trade Organization is to promote trade flows by encouraging nations to adopt non-discriminatory trade practices or trade policy. So naturally, in an open scenario, you know that developed countries, what they do, they try to develop much more, neglecting all underdeveloped countries. So if there is no negotiating body, if there is no medium neutral body like World Trade Organization, India, Brazil, all these developing countries would have been an underdeveloped country. So since every country, developing country, developed country, or least developed country, all these comes under a single umbrella, there are chances for developing and least developed countries to grow along with your developed countries also. So this non-discriminatory trade policies are removed with the help of WTO. So that is the main objective of WTO, to promote even fair trade between all the countries. Second one, World Trade Organization is the only global international organization dealing with rules of trade between nations. So you don't have a competing association or competing organization. It is the one and only organization where all the countries, either they have disputes, no disputes, they have to only come to one single umbrella, that is World Trade Organization. Considering that there are a lot of competitive organizations for World Trade Organization, the scenario would have been different. All developed countries would have created a unique organization. All developing countries would have created another unique organization, and least developed countries would have created a group. So if there are 3 or 4 multiple groups, the trade between all these countries would have been so smooth. The success factor of international trade between all these 151 countries is because of a single unified organization, that is World Trade Organization. Next, the goal is to help producers of goods and services, exporters and importers conduct and grow their businesses. So it is overseeing all the businesses throughout the world, whether fair trade practices are happening, whether all the services, goods have been exported and imported properly, whether the exporters and importers are dealing with other countries' consumers fairly. All these are things which you have to continuously monitor. So continuously monitoring is the role and objective of World Trade Organization. Next one, to improve the welfare of people of the member country. So how does welfare of people is there for all the developing countries? There are 151 member countries. It is a saying that because of WTO, the lifestyle of all the member countries or the people's lifestyle in all these member countries are improving because of WTO. How? Because WTO has a fair trade practice where anybody can go and anywhere. Since India opened its market, it was a liberalized, privatized, and globalized market. When India opened globally, more number of players started coming in. So since India is one of the few founding members of WTO, they started having certain rules and regulations. We do also have resources. Every country, all 151 countries have their own unique resources. If WTO was not there, our India's resources would have been taken by some other developed country so long ago. So since there is a strong law, strong rules and regulations, whatever resources we have, we are trying to protect it. So if we are protecting it, we are protecting to our people. So anybody can come in, anybody can do their businesses fairly. So naturally, the lifestyle of the people of different countries started growing. So that is how it improves the welfare of the peoples of member countries. Next, handling trade disputes and monitoring national trade policy. So each and every country will have their own trade policy. It is not like WTO fixes trade policies for each and every country. It is not like that. It is just a facilitator where it will tell whether it will suit the another competing country or not. The trade policies are developed by the individual country. If there are multiple countries, the trade policies are developed by individual countries. And if there is a conflict arises between different countries, trading countries, then WTO steps in, tries to see what the trade practices are, what are the trade policies are, and it tries to tweak the policies. It doesn't ask you to change the policies, or it doesn't ask the country to change the policies, but it tries to convince that country to tweak the policy so that the conflict is removed. So that is the main role of a World Trade Organization, trying to be a negotiator between two different countries if there is a dispute. Next, technical assistance and training for developing countries and cooperation with other incremental or international organizations. So now another important work done by WTO is providing technical assistance or facilitating technical assistance. So they know there are three different types of countries as members in their umbrella. One is developed country, another one is a developing country, another is a least developed country. So coordinating all these things, they know that where the resources are, where the strong foundations are. So they try to identify the strong foundation and try to implement in either a developing country or a least developed country. So technical, one important thing is technical assistance. Not all 151 countries are very strong in technical assistance in framing rules, regulation, policies, etc., etc. So in order to do so, an underdeveloped country or a developing country will be finding it difficult to frame policies, rules, trade policies. So in order to help them, they will have a technical assistance from the developed country, or at least they will facilitate technical assistance from the developed countries, and they will be giving it to you. So this is the technical assistance provided by WTO, or at least facilitates technical assistance from the developed countries to developing or underdeveloped countries, and to ensure optimum utilization of world resources. Now, this is the very most important point and very important objective of WTO, to make sure the resources, wherever it is available, it is used fairly. So if there is no proper a negotiator or a World Trade Organization common body, the resources throughout the world might have been vanished and may have moved to one single country. Since this is having a legal status, World Trade Organization is having a legal status, all member countries are abided by all rules and regulations set by World Trade Organization. The very important primary rule of World Trade Organization is to use optimum utilization of resources, which means you can go into any country, you can go into anywhere in the market, but use the resources, use the raw materials optimally, so that the country member also uses the raw material, you can also use the raw material. A fair competition should be there. So this is the main objective of World Trade Organization, to see or to ensure optimum utilization of resources is done. And last and very most important thing in the current scenario, protecting the environment. Because now every countries are having a meeting among their own, forming that how to reduce the pollution, how to reduce the pollution. We are going to go green by this year. So countries are moving towards green energy now, when the maximum impact has been created in the environment. Now countries are afraid of what will happen in the future, so everybody is moving for green environment. But from the inception of World Trade Organization, the WTO has been promoting to protect the environment, try to reduce the pollution. They have been consistently telling more number of organizations. So this is what you have to do. So all these are certain objectives of World Trade Organization. One and another are interrelated. So anything, if World Trade Organization misses, it creates a monopoly among the countries. So it sees that there is no monopoly or a oligopolistic trade between countries. It takes care of all 151 countries, and an even share of resources, trade policies is being shared between all these 151 countries. So these are primary objectives. Now coming to the principles of World Trade Organization. So you have different principles. As said in objectives and principles, there might be certain coincidences, but WTO has a strong, stringent principles where it doesn't move away from. One is environmental protection. Environmental protection is the primary motive of WTO, where now countries started taking it seriously, but still from inception, WTO have been insisting all its member countries to make sure that not affecting the environment, not polluting the environment, and that seriousness have come to the member countries now. Preferably in another 4 years or 5 years, all the environmental impacts will be coming down, and its impact will be net zero by another 15 years or 20 years or so. This WTO's role is very commendable in environmental protection. Second one, transparency. As I said, this is a neutral organization having one of the largest members in its kitty, 151 members. So it should be transparent. It should not support any, or it should not favor any countries among these 151 countries. So one important principle is to being transparent with all these 151 countries. Third one, MFN treatment, most favored nation. So there are certain conditions like most favored nation. If India is there, for India to trade with another nation, there might be a status called as most favored nation. Not all 151 countries will be most favored nations for India. So for India, there might be close relationship between United States, there might be close relationship between Russia. So if these are different countries we form a group and we create it as a most favored nation countries. What happens with the most favored nation status? You give regulations or relaxations in trade tariffs. For example, if I am trading with two different countries, one country is a most favored nation country, another one is a normal country, the taxes would be very minimal for a most favored nation, and taxes would be a bit higher for a non-most favored nation. That is the difference. So all these conditions are framed by WTO, whether to have a most favored nation status or a non-most favored nation status. Next one is national treatment. So it is a common treatment given to all 151 member countries, being like you are a developed country, you have to be here. I'll only give importance to you. You are a developing country, so I'll give only least importance to you. It is not like that. Every 151 member countries will have equal national treatment. Next, free trade principle. So WTO don't charge anything for trading principles, regulations, providing policies. So they don't ask you to pay for it. They just regulate it. Next one, dismantling trade barrier. So WTO takes what you call certain steps in making sure that if any country which is purely closed, the market is closed, will try to convince that country to open their market for all other countries. So WTO plays a very important role in closed environment or closed markets. Still in 2022, there are different parts of countries where it is not open to the world, which means they trade within the country. They don't open their market. Only the people within the country can use their resources. There are certain countries available. So what does the WTO do? They step into those countries. They try to negotiate with the country. They try to tell what are the advantages of opening the market. They will tell, we are the regulator. We will take care of all your resources. We will make sure that nothing wrong happens if you open the market. So they try to convince, and they make sure they make them a member and open the market for others to come within. So dismantling the trade barrier. Next one, rule-based trading system. So since it is a regulator, you have a fixed set of rules, not only for one individual members, common fixed set of rules for all 151 members. Next, treatment for least developed countries. So now the concentration of WTO is most towards least developed nations or least developed countries, because developed and developing countries, they have set of rules, they have their resources, so they know how to trade, etc., etc. But least developed countries, they still stuck with a point where they want to try and jump to the next level. So what does WTO do? They try to facilitate those countries to move along with the developed and developing countries. So they give certain importance to least developed countries also. Next one, competition. So as said, WTO facilitates fair competition, effective utilization of resources. Resources should be utilized properly, not individuals should take more number of resources. So the fair trade competitions happens between different countries that regulators see. So all these are certain principles WTO which it doesn't move away. And be environmental protection, be it transparency, be it most favored nation treatment, being national treatment, free trade principle, dismantling trade barriers between two different countries, rule-based system, or creating or treatment for least developed countries. So all these are certain principle which is embedded within WTO, which cannot be changed. Next one, functions of World Trade Organization. Okay. We have been seeing what is the principles of WTO. We have been seeing what are the objectives of WTO. Now we are coming to the function. What exact functions WTO do? First one, helping developing and transition economies. So what does they do? They try to develop economies. They try to transit or transition economies from low economies to at least a middle or a upper economy. So this is what WTO do. So if the economies of the countries develop, automatically the people of the country also develop. They create a environment, or they create a market which will move beyond globally. So India is one of the examples of the countries when liberalization, privatization, globalization happened, when it opened to the world. We were headstruck of what to do. So during that time, since we are also founding members of WTO, we had idea of what is an economy, how an economy functions, what is GDP, how a market behaves, what is primary market, what is a secondary market, what is a tertiary market, how it has been converted into a GDP, how to open a market, how you go and do trade in other countries. Everything is being helped by World Trade Organizations. Now India is in such a position to help many countries. So this is what WTO does. It tries to inculcate all its understandings to different developing and developed countries or underdeveloped countries, so that they also become a transiting economy. Second one, specialized help for export. So World Trade Organization, it is a trade organization. So generally it helps in doing export or import of your products. So they have specialized people expert within World Trade Organization. What they do, they try to help countries which don't know about what is import, what is export, what are all the regulations, what are all the policies involved in. So all these clarifications are given by World Trade Organization to the unknown members, or members who don't know about what exactly the export is and what exactly the import is, what are the rules and regulations surrounding it. Third one, WTO in global economic policy making. So WTO plays a very important role in creating world economic policy. See, we know that already one recession have struck us in 2008, and people are saying that another recession may come. So during this period, World Trade Organization plays a very important role in order to safeguard the resources, in order to safeguard the different economies of its member countries. What they do, they try to match, they try to even the export and import trade policy so that no single country is affected either by recession or any other natural calamity. So this is the primary role of WTO, to make sure that no economy falls. Every economy should be stable. Next, taking information. Another primary function of WTO is to collect information from all the 151 countries and to find out what are the information strong, which information is required by another member country. So it acts as a database. World Trade Organization acts as a database of which resources available in which country, how to go and facilitate trade between that country. So it acts as a database. It is a Google of trade. So like general knowledge, if we want to do something, we just go and Google it and we find answers. Like what? If you need what is the resources available in different countries, you directly go, WTO has answers, WTO have data for you. So wherever resources you find, you can try to facilitate with that country, or even you can take the help of WTO to find out that country's resources, and you can have a trade between these two countries. Next, giving information to public. So it is a data. World Trade Organization has a very big database. It openly gives information to public of how trade is happening between countries, whether fair trade is happening between countries. All these public general informations are given to general public. And the last one, or the last function of WTO, is encouraging development and economic reform. So I've been keep on telling from my initial stage of WTO and GATT is to improve the lifestyle of every people of its member country. So that is what it is doing by developing the country, by developing the economy, by developing economic reforms. Automatically the people in those countries, in those member countries, will automatically improve. So these are all functions of WTO. Organization organization structure of WTO. So as I said, it is one of the biggest organizations with a proper organization structure. How does it go? It has a ministerial conference, it has a general council, it has councils, it has committees and management bodies. So this is how the organizational hierarchy structure goes, where the top decision making body is ministerial conference headed by a chairman, or general council headed by members, councils from different countries headed by members, and small committees for developed countries, developing countries and least developed countries, and professional management bodies who clear all doubts of legal trade between different countries. What are the legal modalities, how it should be taken, how it should be done. All these are taken care by all these management bodies. So it is a strongly structured organization where you cannot go wrong. So these are all the organization structure of WTO. So till now we have been seeing what are all the positive sides of WTO. If there are positive sides, you should have another side that is a negative side. What are the weaknesses? So you cannot tell it is a negative one, but there are still weaknesses which are which tend to improve in the next version. So WTO, as it has 151 members, it has certain weaknesses. Going forward, all these we will try to see whether all these weaknesses will be taken by the WTO and try to improve all those weaknesses. WTO is fundamentally undemocratic. Undemocratic in the sense it's just an organization framed with legal status with certain members governing it. So it doesn't mean that it is democratic, which means nobody is going to elect it. All 151 member countries or peoples in 151 member countries, no. So certain few countries within the member countries, they have the upper hand, and they facilitate who will be the top leader, who will be the committee members. All these are decided by only few member countries. That is a hindrance. So you should have equal representation from all 151 countries. Next, WTO causes trampling of labor and human rights. So this is a topic to debate. Still, there are a lot of news stating that it is tampering labor, it is tampering the human rights, but the proof is very minimal. So it is a weakness. There is a speculation that there are human right violations in least developed countries, but it has not come to light till now. So we have to take this as a pinch of salt and consider this as a weakness, and WTO has to improve this weakness on the labor situation and the human rights situation with the member countries. Then privatization of essential services. So now once the government owned resources, after liberalization, privatization, it became essential services privatized. So what means once it was in the hands of the government, common resources for all the people, now it has become privatized. So that has to be stopped by the WTO. And fuel issues, food issues, forest issues has been not strictly taken by World Trade Organization. They are only taking about the importance of products and services, intellectual property rights, but the importance given to the fuel, this is the main reason. If WTO comes in, regulates all the fuel things, each and every country will have a unified price. So why there are different prices for fuel around the world? This is the main reason. WTO doesn't too much concentrate on fuel. Food issues, a lot of food issues. Why there are below poverty line countries, which means they don't even have food to feed their people. Why is it so? Because WTO don't take too seriously about all those food issues and forest issues. Forest issues, many number of forests around the world, many tribes, all these are not taken care or not involved too much in World Trade Organization discussion. So all these issues like fuel issues, food issues, and forest issues have to be included seriously in World Trade Organization. These are considered as weaknesses. And last one, creating a rich man's world. So there has always been a pinpoint, black point on WTO is always creating a rich man's land. Why do you want to neglect least developing countries? So that is why this weakness has been attested by WTO recently, and they have told that next 5 years or 10 years, it will try to convert most number of its member countries, least developed countries, into a developing country. So this particular weakness has been kind of taken care of. So probably in another 5 years or 10 years, we may see WTO concentrating too much on LDCs, that is least developed countries, and try to create those countries also as a rich man's world. So these are all certain weaknesses of WTO, which is there is always a scope for improvement. Then, so this is about WTO. So before WTO, what happened? There was general agreement on tariffs and trade. So GATT was the first multilateral trade agreement between few countries. It is not like it initially started with 100 members or so. It is just an agreement between few countries, which was created in January 1948, intended to achieve a broad, multilateral and free worldwide system of trading between only few countries. So GATT was launched by few that time developing countries like China, USSR, USA, to facilitate trade between those countries. It started as GATT. Then later stages, it converted into WTO. What was the basic principles of GATT? Member countries will consult with each other concerning trade problems. It didn't have a legal status. Very important thing, GATT didn't have a legal status, but World Trade Organization has a legal status. They have a clear-cut organization structure, which GATT didn't have during those days. So member countries, among 5 or 4 member countries, will consult with each other, and they will conclude to their trade problems. Next, the agreement provides a framework for negotiation and represent results of negotiation and legal instrument. That's all. So GATT cannot punish anyone. If anybody is willing to discuss, they can come and discuss. Neither one parties want to discuss, they can just go. So it is kind of just a trade agreement. If you are satisfied, you can do, or else just leave it. Third one, countries should protect domestic industries only through tariff when needed and if permitted. So in this GATT, one important agreement was that domestic industry should be protected by tariffs, which means keeping your resources in high price so that nobody will come from outside to buy it. So your domestic industries will be safeguarded. So this was the agreement in GATT to safeguard your domestic industries, to keep the raw material prices low for your domestic country and raw material prices very high for your another trading countries. The last one, trade should be conducted on a non-discriminatory basis. So this also started in GATT, non-discriminatory in the sense no country should take what do you call the plus side, or the I'm a big developed country, so I'll be in the upper hand. So you should not take any upper hand because of being a developed country or a highly developing country. Non-discriminatory basis between the members. What were the objectives of GATT? To provide equal opportunities to all countries in international market for trading purpose. So equal opportunities to all countries, now all member countries, not for the countries throughout the world. There were few member countries. For those member countries, equal opportunities has been given. Next, to increase the effective demand. So create a proper demand and supply. The GATT agreement was formed. Next, to provide amicable solution to disputes related to international trade. So naturally, disputes happen whether the organization is small, big, etc., etc. Disputes happen between two different. If you go out of the boundary, naturally dispute happens. So, in order to trying to settle the dispute, this agreement was gone. Next, last one, to ensure a better living standards in the world as a whole. So, as WTO is trying to embed all its member countries, people's lifestyle, the same was the objective of GATT, to better the living standards of the people in their countries. What are the major provisions of GATT? GATT comprised of 4 major elements. The agreement consists of 4 major elements. One, the role of non-discrimination. So there should not be any discrimination among the member countries. Second one, commitment to observe negotiated tariff concession. So whenever you promise, you just fulfill that commitment. Don't tell orally. If you are fulfilling that, this will be my tariff considerations for your country. You have to fulfill it, not only just by word of mouth, by acting it. Third one, prohibitions against use of quantitative restrictions on exports and imports. So you should not restrict any country. The member country restrict being take the resources from the country. So you should not restrict any exports and imports from the member countries. Last one, special provisions to promote the trade of developing countries. So during GATT, there were developed countries and developing countries. So the provision was also given for developing countries to develop along with your developed countries. So these were the 4 basic elements of GATT. Now, what are the differences between WTO and GATT? GATT was main focus was trade in goods, but WTO, your focus is in trade in goods, services, as well as in intellectual property rights. GATT was less powerful, and its dispute settlement system was very, very slow and inefficient and insufficient. So it didn't have a legal status. So unfortunately, whatever dispute settlement system was, it would be very slow. It might not have been accepted by the members. Whereas WTO is more powerful, and its dispute settlement system is fast because it has a strong legal status. They are binded by rules and regulations. Third one, in GATT, there was no pre-decided regular timing of holding sessions, which means whenever they want, they can have sessions with the member countries. But in WTO, meeting is held after every 2 years. So they have a time frame. They primarily inform all the member countries in advance so that everybody will be ready with the agenda. So they will be meeting once in 2 years, so they can settle the disputes whenever it is arising. So once in 2 years, there might be a lot of disputes arising. So during these 2-year period, they can solve it. But in GATT, they don't have a time frame. Whenever they wish, they started having meetings. When they don't wish, they never had meetings. That's all. Last differentiation is GATT had a small secretariat managed by a director general. So GATT, when it was initiated, there was a director general. Not much committees were there. Not much management bodies were there. The secretariat was very small building. So GATT was in its initial stages. When it gone from GATT to WTO, or when it transformed from GATT to WTO, WTO had a very large secretariat, which is in Switzerland, and it has a huge organizational setup also, with director general, committees, management groups, management bodies, sub bodies to take care of all the dispute settlement system. So these are all the primary differences between a WTO and GATT. So any business or any new business which wants to do a trade, they cannot neglect WTO. So that importance is WTO to the world. And being India one of the founding members, India's role in WTO in the foregoing years or foregoing months is to improve. So this is what my insights on WTO and GATT towards the world economy and world trade. So I'll see you in another video. Hope these insights were useful for you. I'm always there for you to help you. Any case, any doubts, you can always call me. Let this day be a wonderful day for you. See you. Bye.